Hello, this is Dorian. I thought I would give my thoughts on watching the first episode of Marvel's Secret Invasion that I think just came out today. And like full spoilers for that episode. And just like maybe some quick thoughts or whatever. Okay, so let me get into my thoughts. Not feeling the greatest today, so I'm just quick thoughts after just watching it. But I guess I didn't really enjoy it all that much, but I wasn't immediately turned off either. Again, kind of mixed feelings. I think one of the things I liked about it the best was that it had a serious tone. I had heard a couple other people with some spoiler-free reviews saying that they really appreciated the serious tone, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be one of those people because I tend in general to not enjoy the serious MCU movies as much as the more lighthearted ones. Like my favorite MCU movie is Ragnarok, and like one of the more serious ones, like Winter Soldier, would be lower on the list. Or like Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a more serious in tone thing, and that's more low on the list for me. That's not to say that I like all of the silly things, like obviously Thor Love and Thunder was way too much. And not to say that I dislike some serious things, but in general, and that's why I like the golden age of MCU anyway, because it had something for everybody. Like if you liked a heist movie, it had that, so if you were into more serious vibes, you could get that with like Civil War, Winter Soldier, and if you were into more upbeat vibes, you could get Guardians of the Galaxy or Ragnarok or something. It had a little bit of everything for everybody. But anyway, so a lot of people were saying that they liked how serious this was, and I didn't think going in that maybe I would be one of those, but coming out, I would say in that I guess I didn't realize how much I had missed seriousness from the MCU until starting to watch this, because it's just like, and I think that's a testament to how much of like phase 4 and 5 that I've seen of the MCU. I haven't seen everything, but I've seen a lot of things. And I start to watch this show even, and it's like every couple of moments I keep thinking subconsciously, like, okay, when's the tone shift going to happen? When are they going to come in with the slapstick? When is there going to be some kind of like jokey joke or something? Like even in Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think, they're trying to having moments of levity in there. And, and then it didn't go that direction, and then I'm glad that it didn't go that direction, and it did feel refreshing to just kind of ground everything and have a more serious tone. That being said, just because something is serious in and of itself doesn't necessarily make it good. Like, that can't be the sole factor that it's riding on. So anyway, some thoughts going into it. Just the opening sequence alone, before the opening credits even, just the really, really opening part, and I was worried going into this show, like I think some other people have been as well, of what's going to be the case with the Skrulls. How is that going to be handled? Of like, I haven't really read the comics, but I get the sense that in the comics the Skrulls were unambiguously painted as villains, and then the whole Secret Invasion comic line is this idea that this evil enemy can hide in plain sight and could be anybody, and isn't that scary? And then they could be hiding as your favorite whomever, and then that's the story everyone wants to see. But then Captain Marvel's big twist or whatever was that the Skrulls were actually the good guys, and so that was kind of the whole plot, I guess, of Captain Marvel, and also of maybe why, they didn't tell the story linearly, was banking on people's, I guess, foreknowledge that the Skrulls are the bad guys, so that you are also tricked throughout the movie into the reveal. And I thought that was a nice way of retelling it from a different perspective, from a new perspective, and that was kind of ballsy to shift it to them, being empathetic and actually know they're the refugees. So then, when you know that Secret Invasion is going to be happening, then you wonder, how is this going to happen? Is Disney, Marvel going to do some kind of quote unquote retcon, which they don't exactly seem to do for Marvel? Are they going to say it takes place in an alternate universe? Like, is it going to all be, like, how are they going to handle this situation? And so it would be nice if they went with a different direction to make the Skrulls not the enemy at all, like, and do another psych out that's in keeping with Captain Marvel to make somebody else the enemy or something, or that there's shape-shifting happening, but those people are actually your allies or something. That would be nice, and it would be nice if that was, like, established up front, because you can't pull the same twist again with Captain Marvel. But, I don't think they're going to do that, and I think that the way that they're going to thread the needle, and, you can't tell from just one episode, but I think that the way they're going to thread this needle, then, okay, complete 100% spoilers, is that, they're going to have, like, the good ones and the bad ones. And I got all of this information just from the opening, like, teaser into the episode where, hold on just a moment. I guess I will back up a little bit and just go beat for beat for the opening sequence of, right when it starts, there's some guy, and I don't know if I'm supposed to know who this guy is, some, white male cop looking dude, Predco maybe or something, who, the point is he's ranting and raving, and maybe if this were framed in a different way, he'd be like tinfoil hat person. And in the background, there's papers with the red strings attached to everything, that you're supposed to get the impression that this is some conspiracy theory is happening. And right off the bat, to introduce us, I think, to the concept of the show, this ranty, ravey person is saying, there's all these fights are happening, all these conflicts are happening all over the world. Argentina is attacking Colombia, and Colombia is attacking, he just lists a word salad of countries, and everybody's attacking everybody. It can't be humans, it's got to be aliens. It's aliens. And that's it. And basically the only the only evidence, the only logic that this person has is basically, there's global conflicts occurring. I know of the existence of one species of extraterrestrial. I know that species can shapeshift. Ergo. And so there's nothing really to go on there. If you don't know the comics, if you don't know the history, if whatever, it just would be very flimsy. And so my outside opinion looking in is like, that's completely xenophobic. And like, in a world where you have, Gamora and Mantis and Drax just walking around, and like, aren't we to a point in Earth 1999, unless maybe we're not on that one, but aren't we to a point yet where we just have a multi kind of species-esque society? Or like, at least it wouldn't be not society, but like, at least it wouldn't be that weird if a human walking down the street sees, a Xandarian or well, maybe Xandar was eliminated, but you know what I mean, just walking down the street like no big deal, like, hey, there's a giant statue sticking out of the ocean. It's like, at what point can you keep treating it like we're in a photorealistic world where none of the humans anywhere has any concept of anything cosmic going on? They're aliens. Yeah, well, which one? So it would have been interesting to me if it had a more empathetic, I guess, sort of Men in Black kind of atmosphere, where if once the ranter raver said that, then our Elliot Ross person would be like, just completely dismissive of that, like, whatever. But you have to have a plot, you have to key people in quickly to the narrative of the thing and the plot demands, and like, oh, okay, this is the story they're going to tell. And politically, if Marvel is going to choose to do sort of political, dipping its toes into political stories, like with, Jesse Gender was saying with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's like, it does invite commentary of like what, like for example in with Shield, when you're saying like, oh, there's hidden bad guys, from within. Actually, they're not from within. They're secret Hydra people. They're Germans who have been here all along. It was actually an external threat. There's nothing wrong from within. It could never be us. It's something external, that's hiding in plain sight. It's like that narrative again of like, oh, it couldn't possibly be the human governments having conflict with each other. It has to be extraterrestrials. So I don't even like that narrative to begin with. I haven't even gotten like 2 sentences into the show. So anyway, so then the next thing that happens is that, after he says, it's aliens, then our Elliot Ross character says something in defense of the Skrulls, of like, well, the Skrulls can't be all that bad. And, again, I think I'm seeing this a mile coming of like, please don't have that character actually be a Skrull in disguise. Please don't have that character actually be a Skrull in disguise, because it would devalue that statement, and it would seem to give validity then to this yelling ranter. Because if this yelling ranter is like, I can't trust anybody, everybody's in disguise, the Skrulls are everywhere, da da da. And then if that was actually Elliot Ross saying something kind and something empathetic and saying, like, no, you can trust me, and like, the Skrulls are actually not that bad, then that would show that Ross is actually like a good character and an ally and stuff. And again, I don't know too much of the character because I haven't seen Wakanda Forever, so I've only seen him from what we know in, Black Panther and in, Infinity War and everything. But anyway, so it devalues that sense of like that ally or whatever. And it also is a bit of a bait and switch of kind of being like, oh, Martin Freeman's in this? Oh, no, he's not. It's just a cameo, right? And so if you're going to do that kind of bait and switchy thing, I would have suggested to maybe do that with like deeper into the show, not right in the opening, right to hook somebody in, because that's a bait and switch. You'd be like, oh, Martin Freeman's in this or something. You should do that as like a one-off Easter egg in the background deep into the show of like, oh, because we have these Skrulls, we can actually have all these fun little cameos, and we could have this person pop up here and this person pop up here, but not really because it's a Skrull, ha ha ha. But don't do that in the opening. And also, by having that person then be a Skrull, the way that scene is framed then lends validity to that ranting by the ranter that made no sense, had no evidence or whatever. But the way it's framed, it lends some kind of credulity to that of like, oh ha, he was infiltrated by a Skrull, ergo whatever. So that's just how it opens. And so I'm thinking, well, this isn't great framing. But then as it comes around, and then there's a chase scene, and then there's Maria Hill, and then there's the introduction to Talos, and then Maria Hill is basically like, oh, you're one of the good ones. And then it cuts to, the opening credits. And I'm like, oh, that also disappointed me too. This whole like, you're one of the good ones. So it's like, oh, so that's how they're going to thread that needle of how they're going to have their cake and eat it too. Of like, they're going to have some good Skrull refugees, and then some bad bad evil Skrull bad guys. So that's not problematic enough as it is. But, and then to parrot Jessie Gender on this, she was saying that she thought that the character of Talos was done really well. And I agree that you could see Talos kind of walking this fine line of, trying to help his people and like, maybe he got into that fight with that one guy because it's sort of like, well, I'm in this position where if I don't take him down, then Fury's going to kill him. So if I can take him down with, physical takedown, then I could save this person's life and get information, and we could do this in kind of like a proper ethical kind of manner. Now it's sad that it had to come to that point, but I'm also glad that the way that's framed, it doesn't make it seem, more spoilers again, but that it doesn't make it automatically seem like Nick Fury is correct in that scenario. Because if Talos had just taken Nick Fury's hand, then that would have given Nick Fury like validity in that scene. And like, so no, that was kind of Talos holding his ground of like, I'm trying to help and do the right thing here, but I don't want to kill anybody, and I'm not going to just indiscriminately kill Skrulls, which you can tell is kind of more where Nick Fury might be at, and I wondered if that was pushed a little harder to make this seem more like, Samuel Jackson's character in Pulp Fiction than like Nick Fury a bit, really just to spice it up and give it a more harder edge or whatever. But see, then, I don't know, like Nick Fury's character is fine. I think it does carry a lot on that. So it's just, there's going to be this open-ended question of like, how are the Skrulls depicted and everything like that. The next thing was the opening credit sequence, and I don't know if I liked it or not. I'm kind of bordering the fence of like, I don't like this, but it is kind of visually interesting. The one thing that I didn't like was there's this part in that opening like animated credits that I think it's supposed to look like Samuel Jackson's face morphing into a Skrull, like you've kind of seen on the posters or something, but it doesn't look like Samuel Jackson's face at all. It looks like some finger-painted, smushy version. And even as a stylistic choice, it really does Samuel Jackson, like, no favors. And some people, like, I thought I saw in some comments, some people were saying that they thought that that was, like, AI-generated. And I'm thinking, like, no, I guess Disney would do that. I'm like, would Disney do that, like, in the middle of a writer strike? Or I guess this would have been made before. But, like, not only not paying visual artists enough and hurrying them out, and so you get stuff like She-Hulk or whatever. So I've heard. I have no taste to watch She-Hulk. But it looks like, bad Shrek or Gumby or something. I don't know. But anyway, like, first you don't maybe pay the visual artists enough, and now you just straight up just do AI. Like, but that aside, because that's speculation, I don't know if it's AI or not. It's a little jarring to look at, but that could be a stylistic choice because it's kind of expressionistic. And I think it's trying to convey an art of, like, face swapping, which could be cool. And by the end of the, like, credit roll, like, I'm kind of into it. And it would be interesting, I guess, coming off of Across the Spider-Verse or whatever, to then see some kind of visually interesting stuff, like, kind of like that style, like Dark World or expressionistic or something, but then it doesn't cut to any kind of stylized atmosphere or anything. Like, Loki is like a stylized TV show, which has a really interesting, like, look to it. And, like, WandaVision with the, like, various different sitcom aesthetics, like, some things can have a particular, like, palette and look to them or something, but then when it cuts to the opening of the show, no, it just kind of seemed like, apart from being visually, like, dark, like, I had trouble watching this, like, in a bright, sunny room in the middle of the day. Like, I really have to, like, close all the blinds and watch it afternoon and everything to see it better. But, like, apart from a couple scenes like that, it just seems shot, I guess, kind of, I don't know, regular photorealistically. It doesn't seem to have any particular stylized anything to it. So it didn't, it would have been interesting if they had maybe some of that fun from the opening credit sequence in there. But maybe not. I don't know. It's just weird. And then, okay, so then get into the show itself. So I didn't like that was kind of like that whole bait and switch of Morgan Freeman there, or Martin Freeman, sorry, the Martin Freeman there. And then, as some people were saying, they like fridged Talos's wife right away, so much so she's not even on screen. And then I guess, I was watching Jesse Gender's video, just the first 6 minutes of it, because I didn't want spoilers going in. But, like, they're talking about, like, whether or not that could be considered fridging if it motivates or doesn't motivate the characters. And you could argue that Talos and the daughter are motivated by that. But, yeah, it is sad to just kind of see that character's just not even there anymore. And, like, again, just piggybacking off of Jesse Gender, like, they're shapeshifters, so if you didn't have that specific actress, you could have a different actress, like, and she's just taking a different body. Like, it doesn't make sense. But again, it could be just flimsy, cheap writing to try to motivate the characters because they have to have some reason to drive a wedge between Talos and the daughter, because you have to have Talos on, like, the good one side of things and the daughter on the bad one side of things. Fine. But then it seemed a little bit too much like Flag Smashers to me. But then maybe they were thinking, okay, well, maybe where we went wrong with the Flag Smashers was we showed all the reasons why they'd want a revolution. Oh, we forgot to make them violent. Here they're violent. And so maybe with this show, they're like, let's go light on the reasons why they, want what they want, and let's just go straight to the violence and let's just have them bombing innocent people right up in the first episode so that you know that they're the bad guys and there's no equivocating about it, and showing the, young light-skinned girl leading the revolution, heroine archetype, show her, like, unlike the Flag Smashers where you could see that maybe she could go either way in a lot of situations. Here, in contrast, you're having, what's her name, Gaia, like, betray, again, like, immediately in the first scene. And it sets up a character arc, it sets up a progression, because if she had just turned everything over to her dad at the end of episode 1, then you're not going to have the show. And so that's going to be a point of an arc, I think, between, Talos and the daughter, and showing us both sides of the story and stuff like that. And maybe he's trying to win her over, and, that puts Talos in a really interesting spot as a character. I guess I don't like that, Guy is going so hardcore with the whole, it goes from, I want refugees, I want a place to have shelter, immediately to, you look, it's like, oh, we finally got a boat so that we could leave Earth and go find our shelter somewhere. No, we're going to come back to Earth and we're going to take over and kill everybody and make Earth ours or something. So you're going from refugee to antagonist just in the personage of this daughter, right? I think. I don't know, whatever. And then they introduced the new character, the bad guy. I forgot his name already. It starts with a G, though, like Garvik. And you don't get much yet, but played by, let me look up his name. Okay, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but Gravik by Kingsley Ben-Adir, I think. Anyway, not a ton of dialogue, but, commanding a presence there at the end of the episode. And then there was a sequence, like a chase sequence, that I thought was kind of interesting, of, like, it could be interesting to see, like, the actual dynamics of how you fight, like, shapeshifters. But yet somehow it didn't seem as interesting as it could have been, because like the character is just like front and center in the screen the whole time, so it's like you can, it's like it's not like a Where's Waldo. Like I feel like that could have been more clever. I don't know. I just didn't, and I was just like, why is Nick Fury chasing random strangers that are just shifting shapes? Why isn't Nick Fury like looking for a backpack? But maybe that was the point, was that Nick Fury was too smart to look for the backpack that everyone else was looking for and was trying to look for, somebody suspicious. So maybe that's just me being slow and Nick Fury, seeing who's the real person to follow. But still, I feel like that could have been done a little bit more clever, I guess. I don't know. And then in the end, again with the spoilers, then they killed Maria Hill. And I'm like, no, because that was also a compelling character who seemed to have some kind of growth with Nick Fury and was just starting to like engage in dialogue, and you were just starting to see a semblance of more of that relationship between Maria Hill and Nick Fury, and there could have been more there, and she could have been used as a foil to Nick Fury to like draw out more of his character, and like she survived she's been through so much just to kill her off like this, like, and it was just like, and then the fact that you started the episode with the death of Talos's wife, and then you ended the episode with Maria Hill's death, like, again, that's not a great track record for female characters. Also, just one thing I was thinking of like, maybe it's just because of seeing like the Kingsley Ben-Adir in as the Gravik here, and what's his name? He did an excellent job. The high evolutionary, what's his name? It's Chukwudi Iwuji, I believe. And then who did an excellent performance as High Evolutionary, and Jonathan Majors as Kang. Like all good actors in all of those roles, or like so far with Gravik, I don't have much to go on, but neither here nor there. But I'm like, what? Okay, you're casting a lot of black actors for villains. Where's your casting for black actors for heroes? Oh, Miles Morales is Afro-Latino. Oh, that wasn't Disney. That was Sony. And, you killed off T'Challa, and, like, so how many black male heroes are there versus black male villains? Well, I mean, Rhodey made an appearance, and you have Sam Wilson, and, but still, like, anyway, neither here nor there. Just something I was thinking about. But anyway, Nick Fury, never mind, because this is, Nick Fury is our protagonist for this show. So I guess I was just thinking, 3 things back to back that I saw that all had, black male actors as the villain, just one right after the other. But, I don't think that's necessarily a coincidence. But anyway, whatever. But no, I guess I was just bummed because they killed Maria Hill at the end. And I'm like, oh, I didn't really feel that was like a satisfying ending. I felt that was, again, like kind of like a cheap hook to be like, this villain is bad. You should hate this villain. You should watch more. When really I'm just thinking like, well, first you opened the show baiting and switching me that Martin Freeman is not really in this. And then you ended the show by kind of baiting and switching me and being like, well, Colby Smulders isn't in this either. Like, oh, okay. So, yeah, complicated thoughts on the show. I'm not saying that I didn't like it. It was more compelling so far than, like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But I guess it's sort of giving me Falcon and the Winter Soldier vibes. I'd put it in that lane of, like, it's serious, which I appreciate, and more serious than Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and might be more tight and, like, more tightly, more, feels less randomly hobbled together, but at the same time it kind of feels like a retread of like the Flag Smashers again a little bit, and for a show that's supposed to be about shape-shifting, you didn't really get a lot of it. They explain that in the beginning conveniently with the like Gaia character where she's like, "Here, come, you can stay at Gravik's compound," where, again, they say the idealistic stuff really quickly and off to the side and then rush to the negative stuff. Like, here you can be in your own skin and you can be yourself, except you can never leave, like a cult. And the only way you can leave is if you join the army, and you can live here and truly be your authentic self here. Oh, why don't I have the CGI effects or makeup effects on my face and I'm a lead character? Well, lead characters don't shapeshift back into scrolls because reasons. Okay, we got that out of the way. I mean, they basically said that. They said, like, all the soldiers in the army don't shapeshift back into their normal skins as much because they want to stay in the human skin so that they can blend more, so that they can spy more, for the cause. And I feel like what that's basically doing is saying, okay, we'll have background characters in the scroll makeup and like refugees in the background in the scroll makeup, but since we're setting this on Earth and we're keeping it gritty and scrolls have to be hidden because they can't just openly be themselves for some reason in this world, then yeah, it helps because then we don't have to spend the money to like have everybody in scroll makeup. Because there were a lot of times where I thought like having the scroll makeup would have been effective, like this scene where Gaia is like crying about her mom, or like there are a number of scenes where like Gaia is alone. You would think, when other people left the room and she's in the middle of a safe house, or she ran around the corner and she thinks she's hiding and she thinks no one can see her, or somewhere where it's private and there's no one else around, you think she'd shift to her normal like skin to then like cry and like have a more authentic moment or something. But again, that's me overthinking it, or maybe she's so paranoid that she never feels that she can be safe yet, or maybe we'll see that later. It's just episode 1, or again, like she said, she's a soldier. She has to blend into her skin, and maybe whatever. Maybe she doesn't want to look like her former scroll face because maybe that face wasn't a revolutionary yet, or whatever, or is on wanted posters. But still, I feel like there maybe could have been a little bit, oh hey cat, a little bit more authenticity to like some of Talos's bits or some of Gaia's bits if they were like in their own faces kind of thing. But yeah, I Nick Fury and the actor who played Talos, who I should look up, I think, and Colby Smuthers all just like really carried it. Talos is played by Ben Mendelsohn, I think. Yeah. But yeah, Talos is probably my most like character that I'm most empathetic towards right now. And there's enough of a hook to see that I'm interested in like Nick Fury's arc because we know so little about Nick Fury, But I do feel kind of left unsatisfied by like a lot of these themes, I guess, that are kind of similar to feelings I had after like Falcon and the Winter Soldier of like, at the end of the day, can't the refugees just exist and stuff like that? But yeah, I know that we gotta have a plot to move on. So I guess that's kind of my long-winded